Before we begin, I want to give a quick disclaimer. This episode will discuss religious themes, such as extremist religious beliefs in America and the devil as a storytelling tool. Please be advised. Hello, and welcome to the Nebraska Wesleyan University Theater Podcast, the podcast made by the students, staff, and faculty of Nebraska Wesleyan's Theater Department for patrons like you. Today I will be talking with Ashton Barlow, the writer and director of Revelation. Hi, Ashton.
Hey, what's up?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. We're about a day away from the show premiering, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the show?
Yeah. So Revelation is a bit of a passion project of mine. As Bobby mentioned, I wrote it. It's the sequel in what I'm calling a trinity of shows. These three shows that address religious diversity, but also religious trauma and generational trauma. So the first one was a show I directed last year as part of the student directing program, I Am. And then we finished that show up, and I thought, there's more that can come out of this story. So let's make a not really too connected sequel called Revelation. Revelation being about apocalypticism and about loss, and the generational trauma part of it being between a mother and a son.
Yeah, and your shows, I Am and Revelation, have kind of explored what it's like to be in a religious environment.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of your background with religion?
Yeah. So I'm a double major here at Nebraska Wesleyan University. I am a theater BA alongside philosophy and religion. So philosophy and religion being this major that, yes, explores philosophy, and I'm a religious studies focus. So we explore how people practice religion, how a religion impacts and is affected by culture. And I've taken quite a few theology classes with one of our professors as well. Aside from that, I grew up as a United Methodist in the largest United Methodist church on earth, which was pretty interesting. And once I reached college, I reflected on how I grew up, and I reflected on how I saw how evangelical Christianity affected a lot of other people. And I really, as an artist, started to find an interest in exploring good, healthy theology within productions that used biblical characters, such as I Am, who had a drag queen God. We had a drag queen performer here at our school portray God, and then in Revelation, God is not portrayed, but the devil is portrayed as an angel of God. Which is something I've worked on in my senior capstone, the devil as this angel of God as originally portrayed in Job in the Hebrew Bible.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting to talk about religion because I also grew up in a very Catholic family, and I started to kind of see how religion could just push people away. And how it's supposed to be very unifying and spreading the message of peace. And you look around today and you see people using religion for sometimes very horrifying things.
Yeah. In an increasingly polarized world, our religious traditions, especially here in America, have become more polarized and have been used. Religious authority, especially Satan in religious authority, has been used as a rhetorical device to push people apart. And in this show, we portray Satan as a rhetorical device that is used to harm at-risk people. But also in this series of shows, we attempt to show a healthier side, especially of Christianity. So in I Am, this was drag queen God showing up and speaking to the trans experience. And then in this show, it is not from the biblical character, but from a Catholic lady who it shows us this relational side of our faith, that if God does exist, if our faith is something to be believed and something to be practiced, then God must look like people who love us and support us unconditionally. That's a God worth believing in. And that's really the crux of at least the end of this show, not to spoil it too much, because the rest of the show goes all over the place. It has some aspects of horror in it. We really push the boundaries of what has been portrayed on Nebraska Wesleyan stages. But the root of it, especially for me as a playwright, was I want to show people that you can be loved, and there are people who can portray these positive, very loving aspects of a Christian faith, and also ways where it can be used to harm others. And those are always pushing against each other, and we have to find the middle point.
So what was it like for you as a playwright getting to produce your own plays here?
Oh my goodness. I have produced, how many of my own plays here? I have produced, this is the fourth play I have produced as a part of the student directing program here. I believe fourth play. No, it's the third. It's the third play I've produced here as part of the student directing program, but I've produced an additional 4 as part of other courses. So 4 smaller shows as part of a teaching course at middle schools here in Lincoln. And it's amazing to have not just the opportunity to produce shows I've worked on and put my heart into, but also the ability to get the resources of Wesleyan and the wonderful performers and designers at Wesleyan, for them to be invested and have the time and to be able to work with people who have the skill sets to put their all into shows like this. So it's an amazing experience. Now, from like a theatrical aspect, as someone who's going into directing, playwriting, and theater management, do I recommend directing your own shows? No. As a playwright, it's awesome to take your hands off the script after a while. And when you are directing your own shows, you can't necessarily do that. You're like, I was sitting there during our final run yesterday, and I was looking through the script, and I said, who wrote this? I need to change this word here, and the audience wouldn't see a single moment of that, of these minor tweaks that I've made along the way. And I did not tell the performers to tweak it because they have put far too much effort into it already. They didn't need to change their memorization this far along the process. But it's been amazing to be able to produce 3 of my own shows. One act show called Lover of the Lover of the Lover, which was a Commedia dell'arte show. It was a comedy. And then I Am, which was backed by an interfaith grant that Wesleyan provided as well. It was really a very loving story and a passion project with everyone involved on it. And then Revelation, which is another passion project, and has had a lot of people who have worked on it. And is really what I'd say is the capstone, the peak of what my education at Wesleyan has provided me the tools to create. So I'm really excited for people to see it on Friday tomorrow.
Yeah, and I do think it has been really fun getting to watch a bunch of different students be able to write and see their plays produced and be able to produce them, because it's really interesting. For the choir here at Wesleyan, sometimes they bring in the composers of the pieces we're singing, and we get to sing it for the composer. And one of my favorite things is watching their face light up when we do something particularly well in their song, and just kind of seeing that pride. And I think that just really speaks to part of the creative experience being when it becomes more than just one person's creation, when it becomes collaboration.
Yes.
And it just kind of ascends.
Yes. And Wesleyan has a new club that I helped to found called University Wits. And that's our goal of University Wits. We do improv and we do smaller, not really productions, but readings, and we try to present students' work here at Wesleyan. And being a part of that process, the process of creating a club, and I've been a part of a lot of clubs here at Wesleyan and in leadership in a lot of clubs, but that's been an amazing club to work with and to found, because we want students, not just theater students, but all students here at Wesleyan, to feel like they have the ability to create something and to share it with other people, not just at college, not just around the Lincoln area, but in the world in its entirety.
You mentioned that you did a play all about Commedia.
Mm-hmm.
What is your life with Commedia like?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So, as a graduating senior, there's a lot of different places you could go. And I know that there's one place that I can always come back to, which is Kansas City Commedia. It's a group that I started working with in 2025 when they saw The Lover of the Lover of the Lover when we premiered it at the Kansas City Renaissance Festival. The producer of Commedia Kansas City walked up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, I run this amazing group here in Kansas. You should join and work with us." And since then, we produced another show at the Kansas City Renaissance Festival last year. And we are working on a show for Kansas City Fringe right now. We got in as a curated act, and that's a Western Commedia show. So I'm in love with Commedia, to say the least. And I've gotten to work with some amazing people, including people who've worked with Antonio Fava, who is this maestro of Commedia, who teaches Commedia from his home in Italy and is the last remaining mask maker, true leather mask maker of Commedia, with family lines connecting him up to pulcinellas and other masks that have existed for a very long time. So my relationship with Commedia, I started learning about Commedia my senior year of high school. I was the lead Truffaldino in a Commedia show my last year of high school, and then I thought I need to learn more about this amazing art form that is no longer performed frequently. I learned more about it my freshman year. I produced my first Commedia show. Sophomore year, I learned, oh my gosh, like half of these things I put in here are like heretical to true Commedia. And then I started learning more and more. I have books on Commedia now. I know movement styles of Commedia. I'm hoping to work in Italy and learn more and do workshops. But Commedia is like a love of mine. So whenever I direct a show that's not comic and not rooted in these, like, Commedia has a philosophy around it, and these masked characters can't die on stage. They're all kind of tropey and whatnot. But when I direct a show like Revelation or I Am, I ask, oh gosh, how can I implement this movement in a naturalist show? And what I end up doing is I usually host a movement workshop or exercise where we explore physicality with characters. And in that, I use the techniques I've learned about as not just a Commedia writer, not just as a Commedia performer, not just as someone who's directed Commedia, but as someone who has worked and has been trained in that movement training.
And I've also done a movement workshop with you for The Tempest.
Yes.
It was really fun because for part of it, we even did bring out Commedia masks when we became vile monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really fun that night when we did the movement workshop because it got me more grounded, closer to the floor. And it made me move in ways that I'd never been like crouched down and walking in almost a duck walk, but still trying to stay straight up. And it was really fun exploring movement from a different angle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Commedia roots you, and if you're doing Commedia properly, it should be a little exhausting, but it does work on your core strength, and it puts you in weird positions. And as I've even done more Commedia workshops with my partners at Kansas City Commedia, since then I've learned how to do roles and things for certain Commedia characters, and it's just so exciting when you can bring that movement in, or even just ideas of that movement in, to other characters, especially like mystical characters in Shakespeare or Moliere, which is an aspect of Commedia, uses Commedia, or contemporary shows. It's fun to be a little strange and not as naturalist, because we all love naturalist theater.
Moving back to Revelations,
Mm-hmm.
for your advertising, you got to do a workshop or just kind of an all about it session in the
Yes.
library for
Yeah.
Hub Happenings.
Mhm.
What was it like being able to talk about your show with a live audience?
Yeah, it was great. We had quite a few people, and I'll say this is a part of a marketing campaign I've been working on as one of my capstone projects. And as I was talking to another student about this, he said, "Well, we have this great event where you can talk about the show. Please talk. We want you on." And I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And I spent a little bit of time to prepare, but a lot of the research I've done for this show has just been locked in my brain and on a variety of just note-taking spreadsheets. It's just brutal how much research I had to do for this. But once I got in the space, this was last Friday, I wanted to talk about a few big things. And I actually have my notes from that speech right here. So I wanted to talk about what the show is about. And I've already mentioned that here. It's loss. It is about apocalypticism, about taking advantage or religious oh my gosh, can I talk? It's about taking advantage of at-risk people, which oftentimes happens in any rapture scenario. Because how many times has the rapture been predicted? I don't know. It's too many to count.
Too many.
How
At
many
least
times
5
has it
times this
happened?
decade.
Yeah, at least 5 times this decade. And it's never happened. It hasn't happened. And really what the rapture means, or what an apocalypse means, or a revelation means. A revelation is just something's been revealed to me. And then the apocalypse, or the rapture, is this unveiling of the world as it is to a world as it could be, or a world as it will be. And in rapture stories, this is tied in with millennialism, which is this like apocalyptic theological idea. And I thought I wanted to turn that on its head a bit. And the thing that's unveiled is this new life for this family in this story. But I wanted to introduce that concept to this group that listened to me, which was, I talked for 2 hours. It was wild. But I also was able to talk about my research as I researched the devil as a myth-making device in Christianity. So this is what my other capstone project is about, and it's mainly talking about how the devil functions as this rhetorical tool used to express identity in Christianity, as well as an attempt to rationalize evil or chaos in Christianity. So I got to speak a little bit about that, and how the devil, as presented in our show, is not called the devil or Satan or Lucifer, but the adversary, which the adversary or the accuser is how you would translate Ha-Shatan or Satan in the Hebrew. It's translated better as the adversary, or an adversary, or the accuser, which is a little different than our conception of Satan as Mr. Morningstar or the devil. So I wanted to talk a bit about that in that presentation, and the synopsis of that is the adversary is this divine prosecutor that, at least in the Job story, made a bet with God. And the bet was, can the most holy of your followers, the one who's never blasphemed against you, can I get him to curse your name? More or less. And God says, bet, here's this guy named Job. And then the adversary tortures Job a little bit, but doesn't hurt Job physically, just, sends out raiders to kill Job's family and livestock, and then sends the storms to tear down Job's house. And then God says, okay, you have permission to hurt Job now. And then Job gets these sores. But it's not the devil making a bet against God. It's an angel of God making a bet with God against man. So the adversary in our story is this angel used to condemn mankind, especially the innocents of society. And I thought that was an interesting turn on Satan. And that's why I wanted to write about Satan, to turn things on its head a bit.
I think it's really interesting, especially when I examine my own faith and how I'm kind of. In the past few years, I've never really been sure what I believe in, but you read stories and you just kind of see that conflict. We still see it today, even in people who don't believe in a single God or any faith at all. You still see that inner turmoil of us struggling to find meaning in living, and how do we reconcile who we are in the universe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And faith seeks to sometimes answer a question to that question, especially an all-powerful God will attempt to answer that question. But sometimes, and this kind of, in my religious studies background and in my theological tradition, I've found a different approach to this, and that is that sometimes it's okay to be uncertain. Sometimes it's okay to be unsure about God. Well, how could we understand something like as all-powerful, supposedly, as the Christian God, or all-good as the Christian God? And my theological tradition has fallen on, and theology has landed on, if God does exist, then God is someone who fights against oppression. God is someone who loves. God is like a truck driver who picks someone up off the side of the road when they're walking and need a ride. That is a God worth believing in. A God who fights for people who are oppressed by society. That's the theology that I've fallen into. But as someone who walks around day by day, that's a pretty hefty belief, right? And I find that it's easier if I'm not belief forward, but practice forward. And doing that by being in relationship with other people, by taking care of the people around me, by as a performer being equitable, or as a director being equitable with performers' times and technicians' times and designers' time, and making sure that they're not being too terribly overworked. That is how I choose to live out that side of my faith. And then as a religious studies student, I find that I'm okay with not knowing the answer when presented with 1,000,001 different religious traditions. I'm here as a religious scholar to study how people interact with religion, not to decide which one is the correct tradition.
So you work on campus as well as being a double major and writing and producing your own shows. How do you balance all of that?
I don't. Well, I do.
Yeah.
I balance it a little bit. So I work in the university ministry's office, which honestly has been like the best job I could have gotten on campus. I used to work in marketing for theater, and that was super fun, but it would be like nothing until show week, and then, okay, record this show, edit it, get it out in a week with your terrible camera, because everyone else who worked in that job like had super nice cameras, and I was just a little freshman with my tiny DSLR. But as a university ministries employee, a lot of my job is, like I said, relational. It's both supporting our campus minister, but it's also going out around town, being involved in UNL has a campus group, so I connect up with them. Parts of even my shows become my work, and this is just something that happens in ministry jobs. Ministry isn't just pastoral. Ministry is also in theater. It's in nonprofit work. So how I balance all that with about 10 hours of work a week is I usually get up at 8 or 8:30 if I'm feeling like sleeping in. Rush to class by 9. And then I try to stay on campus most of the day. I live on campus, but I have to walk back to my dorm. So I'll bring my lunch to Old Main, which is the building I primarily study in. And I'll eat there in a professor's office while talking with them. And then I have my scheduled work hours later in the day. And then on a show weeks, sometimes work hours are modified and moved around. And then as a double major, luckily, I'm a senior. And I try to plan out, okay, what heavy courses am I going to be taking? And am I going to be directing during them or doing a job in Kansas? Like I've had directing gigs in Kansas over the school year. And I have to drive back every weekend. And how can I like balance those? Well, it's making sure I really get most of my work done in the 9 to 5 time, like a normal work day. And then I'll go and eat dinner, and then at 6 p.m. go do rehearsals until 10. And then the most important thing, especially if you're a prospective student listening, is to make sure you have time to wind down, to relax, and to spend time with friends. Like college is about relationships. Yeah, it's about the education you gain. If you're not learning, why are you at college? But it's also about relationships and learning in relationship with other people. And you can learn and be in ministry with the people around you just by chatting at the end of the long day or hanging out in one of the basements of the dorms. Or now that I have a townhouse, kind of like an apartment, we'll invite people over and we'll watch a show or just sit around and do homework together or play D&D. So yeah, it's tenuously balanced, but we have busy seasons and we have lighter seasons. Just a few months ago, I had every night free, and I was like, I love this. It's such an easy semester, and then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't.
Yes.
But yeah, I can't even tell you how many professors I've gotten to actually know just by randomly popping into their office. The first time I ever met Maddie, who is the campus minister, was the first week of classes I was here. My grandfather had recently passed, and I walked into her office, and I'm like, hey, could I have a little bit of counseling? I'm feeling lost. I just lost my grandfather and don't really know what to do. And she was absolutely wonderful. She just sat there and talked through it with me for, I think, almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
And she's one of the easiest people on campus to talk to. So even today, I still just, I pop in, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go say hi, in and out 2 minutes. Hi, Maddie. And then I'm there talking for half an hour.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you what, when you have a busy day, it's terrible because I'll go into her office and I'll be like, hey, what's up? And then I'll be there and 2 hours of my time is gone. And I'm like, oh, no. oh, what have I done?
Well, yeah. Is there anything else more you'd like to touch on, Ashton?
The biggest things are come see Revelation. It's Revelation, not Revelations. Yes, this is something that we learn in one of our religion courses. It's just silly. But Revelation premieres tomorrow, which is April 17th at 7:30 is when the show starts. Doors open at 7. The performers have put a lot of work into it. The designers have done great work. I have poured blood, sweat, and tears into the show. But if that's not reason enough for you to come to fill up your night. It's an $8 show if you're not a Wesleyan student. But if you are a Wesleyan student, it's free for you to come and watch it for the night. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's a little raunchy. Here's some content warnings for you. We have flashing lights. There is sexual content in it, and there is crude language because I am a crude writer, I guess. But other than that, if you want to learn more about the devil as a myth-making device in Christianity, I have a senior, is it not senior seminar? It's a, oh goodness, what's that? I have a symposium. I have a symposium presentation on that, so you can find that on the Nebraska Wesleyan website. It should be up in about a week. because those symposiums are coming up. That day is coming up.
That's
And then I
3
also
weeks?
3
2
weeks.
weeks?
Oh my gosh,
Oh, it's not even a full 3 weeks. It's just under 2 weeks now.
2 weeks. So I'll be talking about the devil as a myth-making device in Christianity, and I will also have a conversation about the marketing that I've done for this show. Since I've spent a lot of time in another capstone project of mine on the marketing. So that's a bit of what I'm doing. If you want to continue following me, Ashton Barlow, I have a theater company that we're about to register as a nonprofit called Home Again Productions. Our goal is to do innovative theater, provide opportunities for artists, and create spaces where you can find home again, or at least reflect on home. So thank you so much for having me on. This was
Don't
great.
forget to plug the Instagram.
Oh my gosh. Yes. The Instagram for Home Again Productions, it's just Home Again Productions. You can find us on Instagram. You can find our website on homeagainproductions.org. That's also where you can find the ticketing link for this show. It just forwards you to Wesleyan's ticketing link. So yeah. Follow Home Again Productions. Follow Nebraska Wesleyan Theater. We'd love to have you come see any of our shows. We have this in Trout, Oregon, happening this weekend. The weekend of the 16th, Trout, Oregon comes up. That's today, and then next week, Gents Guide opens up, and that's going to be an awesome show. What love, murder, death, and shenanigans happen in that show.
A little bit of deception.
Oh my gosh! So, yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Bobby.
Well, yeah, thank you for coming. To come see Revelation, please make sure to book your tickets on the NWU Theater website in advance. Big thanks to Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com for letting us use his piece Dreamer, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll tune in next week.